governments. So we are perplexed with the attitude of this African Union, and they promised to take this decision back to the African Union.
Sir, what are the measures that should be taken by Egypt in order to reinstate its membership or activate its membership in the African Union? How should we move on the popular and the diplomatic fronts?
We have to wait the report of the delegation of the African Union and any further decision by the Security and Peace and Security Council. But this did not hinder bilateral relation between Egypt and Africa. We, as you know, most of our African missions abroad are concentrated in Africa. We have a lot of experts in doctors, engineers, and so on in most of African countries, including those countries which were spearheading this decision in the Peace and Security Council. So we take the long-term view, and we'll continue on our relation with Africa. We are members of many organizations. Africa is going normally. Our activities are still over there. And our bilateral relation with most of the African countries are going. We are a member of the COMESA. Our trade relations is increasing with those countries. And we receive a lot of Africans in Egypt. We're surprised by this decision, but we'll take this in stride.
Sir, as the Secretary General of the African Society in Cairo, what's your role as an organization in Egypt in order to strengthen the Egyptian-African ties? What are the steps that are taken by your organization in order to do more integration in Africa?
The society in the past was the headquarters of many liberation movements offices here, through which any Egyptian assistance, military, politically, or material have been rendered to those liberation movements are given. Now, since Africa is liberated, we concentrate as we are the National Committee of the OU and now the African Union in Egypt, paradoxically. The premises of the African Union is the headquarters of the African students. They pursue their activities through the organization, our society. We organize a lot of seminars about Africa. We receive African delegations coming to Egypt, and we also try to assist African students in their studies in Egyptian universities when they encounter certain obstacles. And we have a culture program, and also we organize a lot of training program for Egyptian journalists in order to increase their coverage in the Egyptian media about Africa. I'm grateful for your program. You are shedding a lot of lights on African events. And we have a lot of contacts with many similar organizations and societies abroad. I just returned from Washington 2 weeks ago, where I spoke to many American think tanks about Africa.
But sir, your main concern in the society is cultural and educational. It's not political or economical.
No, we try to interest the African business people about business opportunities in Africa. We try to liaise them with their counterparts in other different countries. And I'm satisfied that the Egyptian economic relation with Africa is increasing, not also about Egyptian export, but also Egyptian imports. We import a lot of raw materials from African countries, copper and other things which are necessary for Egyptian industry here in Egypt.
Sir, we have to mention here that the African continent is full of natural resources, is a rich continent. Why Egypt now is not trying to expand, to do more investment, to do more projects in many African countries. What your tips regarding this, and how should we attract the Egyptian businessmen in order to start doing more investments in the African countries and also the governmental institutions in Egypt?
I stress here the role of the private sector. The private sector started to be active in the last 5-6 years, where there is Egyptian investments in Ethiopia, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, in Sudan, in South Sudan, and most African countries have the construction business and also joint ventures between Egyptian and African business. So as they are increasing, they should be increased more. We should attract the attention of the Egyptian private sector. The government is doing its responsibility, but it should give protection to the Egyptian business people in insurance, insurance against political risks, and as do other European countries are doing in protecting their investments in Africa. Sorry.
Sir, now we are seeing major powers like China, for example, are trying now, and they did actually penetrate the African market to a great extent. Do you believe that now Egypt should take its role and start doing projects in Africa and start new markets and businesses in Africa, and especially in Sudan and Ethiopia? We have seen recently a visit by Foreign Minister Nabil Fahmy, in which he visited both Khartoum and Juba. And we have heard that a new road is going to be launched linking Egypt with first Khartoum and then will be extended to Juba. How do you see this, and do you believe that we should also use the agricultural land, the livestock in Sudan in order to do more trade between Egypt and Sudan, both north and south?
There is a lot of potential for trade and economic ties between Egypt and several African countries, and stressing the role of infrastructure is very important, especially as you mentioned, the road between Egypt and Sudan will facilitate a lot of trade complementarity. We import a lot of livestock from Sudan, and we can increase our trade tremendously to Sudanese market, and from Sudan to adjacent countries in East Africa or Central Africa. So one of the major obstacles of inter-African trade is the lack of infrastructure, the roads, railways, and I'm glad now Egypt Air is extending and increasing its network to different African countries, because this will increase the role of tourism, Egyptian tourism to Africa, and also African tourism to Egypt. And we should cooperate with major powers, especially China, which are increasing their trade in Africa. And I think there are some contacts with the Chinese side in this regard.
Sir, moving on to the management of the crisis of the Renaissance Dam. Do you believe that Egypt did not do its job or the officials at this timing did not do a great job concerning the crisis of the Renaissance Dam? They did not prevent the construction or reaching a consensus, did not reach a consensus with the Ethiopian government regarding the construction of the Renaissance Dam, which could affect to a great extent the flow of the Nile water, which is reaching Egypt, which is suffering already from water scarcity.
I hate to criticize any Egyptian government, but with due honesty, the President Morsi government were very sloppy in dealing with African countries, and they did not give, as it proclaimed, Africa the due attention.
Although he did visit Ethiopia and attend a summit there.
But he was attending African Union summit, and he met. And but contacts between, and we were very much preoccupied with internal affairs, and we still are. But now we started to give more attention to the issue of the Renaissance Dam. There are contacts between the two ministries of foreign affairs and the two ministries, two ministers themselves. And it was agreed that a tripartite committee will be established by the ministers of water resources, accompanied with their delegations, and they will discuss the issue of the dam very frankly. Ethiopia is assuring Egypt all the time, and assuring the world, that the Renaissance Dam will not harm Egypt's interests or Sudan interests, and we'll discuss the plans of the dam, and they have to convince us if really
with
there
real
is
data and concrete measures. Ambassador Ahmed Hagag, the former assistant to the foreign minister and the secretary general of the African Society in Egypt, always a pleasure to have you with us on Nile TV.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that, our viewer, brings us to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Hope you have enjoyed it. Until we meet again next week, I'm Rabia. Many thanks for watching.